1983 was the golden age of Japanese anime and manga, with several milestone works that were created in that year. But did you know that 1984's Japanese anime and manga will once again surpass those milestones? Some of which are names of works you probably know even if you've never watched the anime or read the manga. Studio Ghibli's first anime film, Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind, was released in 1984. And although Studio Ghibli was officially formed in 1985, this work is still considered its first. Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind inherits the characteristics of Miyazaki Hayau's anime, with a natural style of artwork as well as a heartwarming story to wake up the world. The unique worldview and human values in the work have profoundly affected the trend of Japanese anime in the following 10 years. It can also be said to be one of the most influential anime films in Japan. Another work born in the same year can directly be considered, without a doubt, the most important and influential manga work in the history of Japanese manga. Created by author Toriyama Akira, who is one of the Japanese creators closest to being the god of manga, the most influential shonen manga, Dragon Ball. Although now surpassed by One Piece, Dragon Ball used to be the most profitable anime of all time. Even 40 years later, there are still many works using the same patterns created by Dragon Ball, as well as creating a rule in the manga industry: never compete with gag characters from comedy manga, especially Areli. Even Vegeta can get tortured by her. Their power level can depend on their mood, and no matter how damaged they get, in the next scene, they'll be completely fine. Anyway, getting to the point, the most important year of the Golden Age was not just for Studio Ghibli and shonenjump, it was also the year that director Oshii Mamoru was known to the masses. The Urusei Yatsura 2, Beautiful Dreamer he produced, tried to incorporate more philosophical thinking into the anime. From his other work, Angel's Egg, it can be seen that his creative style is completely different from other directors. Rather than telling a complete story through anime, he prefers to treat anime as an art. Instead of using dialogue to advance the plot, he uses the details of the characters' body movements and eyes to tell the story. The romance film Macross Do You Remember Love was also born in the same year, with new milestones in almost every field, including the adult anime genre. Since the advent of the first OVA, Dallos, the anime market had noticed this kind of flexibility and degree of freedom that this new anime mode included. Those small anime companies did not have enough funds to invest in TV anime or films, and anime OVAs had become their best bet. Comparatively, anime OVAs did not require too much investment. As long as the content that the viewers liked was there, the return on investments were much faster than other anime. And since the broadcast of Magical Princess Mikimomo, the lolly culture of Japanese anime had developed rapidly. The first adult anime OVA, Lolita Anime, aired in 1984, followed by another hentai anime OVA, Cream Lemon. Since the beginning of these two OVAs, future Japanese anime OVAs would add more or less pornographic content in order to gain the viewer's attention. The craze continued after 1984, with creators experimenting with bold moves amid ever-increasing anime budgets. Other than Akira, directed by Otomo Katsuhiro, Ano Hideaki's 1987 participation in Royal Space Force The Wings of Hanamis is the best symbol of this era. The most impressive aspects in this film are the shards of glass when the rocket lifts off. Those shards were not as easy to make with a computer as they are now, and each shard is hand-drawn. Ano Hideaki drew more than 80,000 glass shards for this 20-second scene, each of which has a different shape and falling direction. Not surprisingly, this is one of the most expensive scenes in Japanese film history. The passion the characters have for outer space, and the passion the animators have for the film, is the most beautiful expression of the Golden Age. By the way, Ano Hideaki is one of the most skilled original artists in Japan, as well as being one of the most cost-efficient original artists. On the outside, being able to draw 80,000 fragments in 20 seconds, and behind that, drawing Neon Genesis Evangelion's 64-second still frame. Legend of the Galactic Heroes, even the light novels of that era had a romantic flavor. In the manga industry, Saint Seiya and Jojo's Bizarre Adventure had also been serialized after the appearance of Dragon Ball. Especially Jojo's Bizarre Adventure, which is still being serialized, as well as being the series with the most manga parts in the history of manga. Their appearances brought manga to the Golden Age. If Shonen Jump is considered the MVP of manga in this Golden Age, then the MVP of anime definitely belongs to Studio Ghibli. They never accept the adaptation of manga, but simply improve on the quality of anime films. This non-for-profit style has earned Studio Ghibli an excellent reputation among viewers. Even after Castle in the Sky brought them huge profits, they kept their original style and released two completely different movies. In 1988, Grave of the Fireflies, directed by Takahata Isao, while being known as one of the best war films in the world, was released, showing the director's reflection along with indictment of war, as well as its expression of human power, having the depth and strength that penetrates the marrow of the human spirit. On the other hand, Studio Ghibli's other film, My Neighbor Totoro, takes Miyazaki Hayao love of nature to a backdrop of the rustic village life of post-war Japan. While these two diametrically opposed films brought Studio Ghibli great honor in 1988, they also brought them great debt. Fortunately, businessmen at the time saw the opportunity and demanded that Totoro's image be sold as a doll. The idea was a huge success, and Totoro managed to save Studio Ghibli. Ever since then, Studio Ghibli had made Totoro the hallmark of their studio. Released in 1989, Kiki's Delivery Service became the #1 domestic film of the year, as well as Studio Ghibli anime becoming synonymous with high-quality anime and a guaranteed box office hit. The fast development of Japanese anime in the Showa period had made viewers look forward to the upcoming Heisei period, hoping that it would continue the glory of the previous period and take it to a higher level. However, Japanese anime would face enormous challenges in the Heisei period's first year alone. The first is the god of manga, Tezuka Osamu's death in 1989, and the spirit of wanting to continue drawing manga until his death inspired many future manga artists. In the same year, an incident that shocked Japan occurred. That is, the Otaku Murderer and serial killer Miyazaki Tsutomu. Despite having the same surname, he is not related in any way to Miyazaki Hayao. Tsutomu kidnapped and brutally murdered 4 girls aged 4 to 7 between 1988 and 1989, saving their body parts as trophies while also taunting the victims' families. After his arrest, police discovered an extensive collection of pornography as well as horror videotapes in his home, which was misrepresented by the media as being primarily anime and manga, which then triggered a widespread moral panic against otakus in Japan. The entire Japanese anime industry and anime fans had been severely discriminated against because of this incident. Furthermore, in the late 80s, both anime and manga received a lot of attention. This was also the same within the news field. At that time, some people would imitate anime and commit suicide, which caused the media to start a large-scale publicity campaign directly linking the cause of suicide to anime. Then the government intervened in anime again, and as a result, otaku started to become a negative term. Japan's bubble economy collapsed in 1991, budgets were cut, and the closure of many anime films and OVA studios heralded the end of the Golden Age. Japanese anime had entered the longest ice age since World War II. After 1992, it had been the next period, the last glorious era of Japanese anime at the end of the century. In the first half of the 1990s, the Japanese anime market was sluggish, and the glory of the previous era was not restored. But this did not mean that good anime to watch weren't born. As long as the market still had demand for anime, those animators would do their best to meet the demand. In that era, there was no shortage of classic anime to support the entire anime industry. Studio Ghibli once again became the pillar, and their 1992 release of Porco Rosso set the era to the Great Depression of the 1930s, with the film's background coinciding with the current situation in Japan at the time. Also, in 1992, there was Sailor Moon, which was adapted by Toei Animation. Based on prior popular styles, it learned from all the advantages of previous magical girl anime, as well as incorporating the 3-man team, as well as the repeated use of transformation scenes advocated by Tezuka Osamu, which made this anime a natural favorite among a wide range of teenage viewers, both male and female. The 3-man team style created by Robo was aimed towards shonen manga. In the shoujo manga of Sailor Moon, the fat character is replaced by a character with a big stomach, who is that kind of character that can eat a lot of things every day without getting fat. This characteristic was incorporated into moe culture and is still used in a wide range of anime today. In 1993, after the influence of Captain Tsubasa, Japanese children liked to play soccer, and after the anime Touch got them interested in baseball, another sports anime that represented an era, Slamdunk, appeared in front of the viewers. This time, it was not just for the Japanese viewers. Slamdunk had gone out of Japan, causing a certain influence all over the world. It had become part of the childhood of many young people and inspired their longing for the sport of basketball. In the same year, an anime master, Kon Satoshi, appeared in front of the viewers with his works, Patlabor 2, the movie, and JoJo's Bizarre Adventure OVA. In the next 10 years, he would also launch a large number of classic works for the revival of anime and make a huge contribution. In 1994, the original Japanese horror manga, Tenchi Muyo, was born. But in fact, Ranma Half and Urusei Yatsura were both a bit earlier than it. If a manga in which two similar sexes like the same character can be called a harem, then the scope of harem works is too broad. So here, the reason why Tenchi Muyo can be called the first is because it created the rules that a qualified harem work needs to follow. In other words, a large part of the patterns that we can see in the harem works now are from Tenchi Muyo, literally the ancestor of harem manga, which was later adapted into an anime OVA and set off a harem anime boom within the anime market. In 1995, just a year after the ancestor of the harem manga appeared, the ancestor of the reverse harem genre appeared, and it was Fushigi Yugi. A reverse harem is an anime genre in which a female character is the heroine and many male characters like her, which is the opposite of harem anime. By the way, its anime was broadcast in 1995, while the manga was serialized in 1991. Japan's first reverse harem manga was 3 years earlier than the ancestor of the harem manga. If you really want to dig deeper, then the title of the first reverse harem should belong to Ranma half. The protagonist is both male and female, along with both genders having a lot of heterosexual preferences. Talking about an unrelated topic, in the previous Detective Conan videos, I can often see people asking me if Haibara and Shinichi have a chance to be together. Well, in Ranma half, they really are together in the literal sense, being the kind that can't be separated. The only downside is that I can easily replace the voice of the protagonist with Shinichi's image, but as for the heroine, it's a bit difficult. I almost forget that Haibara's voice actor used to voice act for comedy characters. Although it sounds like Japanese anime in the early 1990s were no different than those of the Golden Age, both the quantity and quality had dropped a lot. Not to mention, the speed of anime development in those past few years may not have exceeded that of 1984's. What really changed this sluggish situation was a highly influential work, which continuously topped the DVD and BD sales charts among a large number of Japanese TV anime, having almost twice as much as second place. It even rewrote the rules of Japanese anime to a certain extent, helping Japanese anime revive and greeting the coming new century with a brand new appearance.